Hello everybody, I am not dead yet, and today, it's gonna be a bit of a different video. I'm just here to kind of ramble on a little bit. Obviously I'm not as dressed up as I usually am. I normally have my hair spiked up. I'm usually wearing a shirt of some kind, but, today I just wanted to have a nice relaxed video where I talk about some things that I learned today, because I was boxing and I just got back from sparring, and I think it was a very, very productive session, and I learned a lot from it. It wasn't my best session. I think I've done better overall, but I learned a lot more. And what ended up happening was I was doing all right, not great, but I kind of wanted to do better. And one of the coaches at the club was just like, hey, you're having trouble with your sparring partner's cross. And I'm like, yeah, it's really tough. And he just goes, well, stop focusing on the jab. It's a distraction. He'll kind of paw at you, getting you to slip the jab. And then when you slip his jab, you're in prime position for his cross. He's setting you up. So forget about the jab and focus because the jab doesn't hurt. Focus solely on his cross and slip that. And once I focused on that, and once I started doing that, I had a lot of success. I was able to kind of be a little bit more intelligent about my aggression when I picked my shots, and I was able to slip a really massive cross from this guy that would have really hurt me. This guy packs a wallop. And through the discussions and everything, like, this advice isn't new to me. It's not revolutionary advice. It's not amazing advice. It is the basics. And it's something I already knew. But sometimes you need to be reminded simply of things you already know. Sometimes you have a lot going on, and it's good to have other people come in and kind of remind you of certain things. Because even at the start of the sparring session, like, I was working kind of on my own, and I'm like, okay, I've got a game plan. I've got to formulate my game plan and try and execute it. I've got to kind of adjust my game plan based off of what he's doing. I've got to try and figure out how he's trying to counter me and counter his counters. And so when you get all worked up in your own head like that, and I realized this on the drive home, that it's when I start to think too much like that I start getting hit. I was thought back to all the moments where I kind of stumbled my footwork or fumbled my footwork or got hit, and it was because I was spending too much time thinking. I was like, okay, well, I need to get past the right hand. How do I do that? The answer was simple. Focus on the right hand and slip the right hand, right? And sometimes you just have to be reminded of that. And it was that realization that led me to a secondary realization, and it was just that, like, don't be so hard on yourself, because like, you can anybody who watches my channel, right, knows that I'm the discipline guy. I've kind of created this persona based around discipline. You know, it's about drive, it's about power. We stay hungry, we devour, right? Yeah, but that mentality can be bad too, right? Everybody always talks about becoming a monster. Oh, I'm going to be such a monster. I'm going to work so hard that I'm going to become a monster. And, well, first of all, there are consequences to becoming a monster that people often don't really look at. But in my experience, once you've achieved monster status, right, it no longer becomes a fight to become a monster. It becomes a fight to remain human. It becomes a fight to hold on to that last bit of humanity you have left, the parts that you haven't sacrificed in pursuit of your goals. And we are all our own worst critics, especially, you know, like, with myself. Like, it's clear that I'm willing to criticize people. If you've been on my channel before, you've seen that I'm willing to criticize others and open myself up to the same kinds of criticism as well. But when it comes to criticism, with me, anything I say about other people, I hold myself to a standard that is 10 times higher than that, because I'm the one saying it. So when I talk about, you know, discipline and drive and continuing to push forward and working for your goals, everything I say about other people, I hold myself to a standard that is well above that. And it was the combination of being reminded of the basics and the simple things, coupled with a simple statement made about my sparring partners, that got me to think a little bit about the situation I actually find myself in. And in relation to that, I want to tell a story of something my coach actually said to me, or my ex-coach, the guy that taught me everything I know about boxing. Like, he not only built my style, but also completely shaped the way I think about boxing. I was telling him about this. This was last week in preparation to what I thought was going to be my provincial fight. And I was talking about, I was having a little bit of trouble with my sparring partners and whatnot. And I'm like, oh, they're getting better. And it's getting more difficult dealing with them. And he looked at me and he said, well, your sparring partners are often the ones who can defeat you. And he gave me an example. And he said that Larry Holmes used to walk away from sparring sessions with Muhammad Ali saying, I can beat this guy. And this was prime Ali. So by the time Larry Holmes actually got his hands on Ali when he was old and had Parkinson's, it was a slaughter. But Holmes was actually really nice to Ali in that fight. But it's true. Because, day after day, they fight you. Day after day, week after week. And day after day, week after week, they're coming up with different strategies to counter you. And it's like, it's a reminder that, like, it's okay to struggle, especially against the guys that day in and day out are trying to best you and are in the best position to best you. And that's another thing that, like, everyone kind of knows that. It's common knowledge, but sometimes you just need to be reminded of it. Because, again, like, I obviously have big aspirations and goals that I want to achieve, and I have sacrificed a lot in the pursuit of those goals, both past and present, before and currently. And to me, I always wanted to achieve, and there was always that, like, whatever it takes mentality. I mean, how many times have I said on this channel that I'm willing to die for this, right? But that mentality can be just as toxic, and it can be a hindrance, right? I remember I was talking to the coach that gave me that advice, hey, slip the cross, and I said, like, that was some great advice, and I feel like you were able to allow me to do better because of that. Like, you reminded me of something so simple and so basic, but it was because of that you were able to bring out more from me. And he told me a story of one of, if not the best pieces of advice his coach previously had given him. And he said it was with somebody who he had fought 3 times, once as an exhibition and then 2 real fights. The first exhibition, he was the better fighter. He was older, had more experience. It was just an exhibition. He was told to go easy on the guy. Second fight, the guy was a little bit better. He still came out on top, but his opponent had improved. And by the third fight, his opponent was a lot older, a lot more experience, and a lot better. And he said, going into the third round, it was even. He believed that he had won a round, and then he believed that his opponent had won a round. And then his coach in the corner just looked at him and said, have fun. Just go out there and have fun. And he's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to go out there and have fun. And after all that, the first 2 rounds where he was kind of surprised and struggling a little bit, after getting that advice of just have fun, he went out there, he was moving so much better. He said, I was making a miss, I was kind of dancing around, I was doing great. And I was reflecting on that, and it's like, it's important to have goals. It's important to strive for your goals. But it's also important not to be consumed by them, because when you get consumed by your goals, when you get consumed by the monster, right, that can actually hinder you. And that's what was happening with me. I was overthinking. I was thinking too much. And it's like, stop trying to think about all these different ways to get past the cross. Slip the cross. And sometimes it's paralysis by analysis. And we see that a lot in YouTube fitness, even with a bunch of science-based YouTubers breaking down to the millisecond how long you should do sets, how long you should rest. And it was a reminder for me to be a little bit easier on myself. Just to give you all a little bit of context, right? Because I hold myself to this extremely high standard, and as much as I tell myself, because it's a reminder that even if you know something, sometimes it takes someone telling it to you for it to really sink in, or for it to really come to the forefront. I know that I can't always be the best of the best and always on my game, and I know that there is no such thing as the best of the best. The guy that you beat today could be the guy that beats you tomorrow. Literally. And as much as I knew that, I was still holding myself to this impossible standard of like, keep pushing, keep being better and whatever, right? You're allowed to have off days. And so I started thinking about the opponent, or my sparring partner, the guy I'm actually sparring. I think he's like 27, I'm 22, so he's 5 years older than me. He's 2 inches taller. He is 15 pounds heavier. I am coming off of a 4-year retirement. To my knowledge, he has not stopped boxing at all. And to top it all off, the cherry on top, he has 70 fights. I have 25. Some of those being when I was like 10. So can we really count like the fights I've had when I was like 10, 11, 12, 13 as a reflection of who I am now? I mean, I think there's some validity to that, where it's like, yes, like because you were fighting so young, you were able to kind of grow and get better and learn younger. But still, even if we count all the fights that I've had in my official boxing passport, he has damn near 3 times the amount of fights that I have, on top of the fact that I'm coming off of a 4-year retirement. And so it's like, the fact that I'm not just keeping up with him, but I'm landing hard shots, I'm countering him, I'm slipping punches. Like, cut yourself some slack, Eli. Like, you're doing pretty well. And it was that conversation with him that kind of reminded me of that. And it kind of reminded me to take a step back, to not always be so serious about things. Because, like, I love boxing. But sometimes when you have these goals in your head, it's so easy to tunnel vision and focus in on that. And that's what I mean when I say you get consumed by your monster, right? I've even talked about it before on this channel, where I said the pandemic hit me hard. I lost a lot of my friends, and everyone was talking about how, oh, you should video chat people, and nobody wanted to video chat me. And I've even talked to, this is something actually I reoccurringly talk to with Josh the Iron Musket, because he's one of the few people I talk to on a regular basis. But like, I've said to Josh, like, if it weren't for you, sometimes it's just very easy to isolate yourself. It's very easy, I find, to sometimes slip into when you're, because I take my training very seriously. And so when your day is just eat, sleep, train, repeat, it's very easy to fall into this mentality of like, oh, I don't need anybody. I've got my training. I'll just focus on my training. I'm going to get stronger, faster, smarter, better. But that doesn't help anybody. And it's important to take a step back and just have fun. That's not to say I wasn't enjoying my training or I wasn't having fun sparring, but sometimes it's like, relax a little bit. And what really this made me want to make this video and share this experience with you all was the fact that I was talking to my mom about this when I got home. I talked about like everything about from the sparring partners to like, you gotta not overthink things, and you know, sometimes just go with the flow and relax a little bit and take things as they are, because when you're especially in the ring, being too tense is a bad thing. So it's like, if you're too tense all the time and you're not relaxed in the ring, you're gonna get hit, and that's what was happening. And even my mom said to me, yeah, I was starting to notice that. I didn't really want to say anything, but I think you're overthinking things. I started like you started to seem to talk a lot more of like, I need to do this, I have to do this, and this is what I can do to get better, this is what I can do, I have to do this, and then I can do this to do this. And it's like, take a step back and relax, take a breath. You're doing good, right? And you don't have to be perfect all the time. And oftentimes you learn, the best moments are when you aren't perfect. You learn in those moments where you take a punch or you get your ass beat. And the times to get your ass beat is sparring, right? It's not in a fight. Be serious in the fights, but you also try and learn when you're sparring. So yeah, there's no real big point to this video. This was just me trying to share some wisdom and some of the insights that I discovered and found today in sparring, and some of the things that I learned from a particularly enlightening and educational sparring session. I learned a little bit more about my style and a little bit more things that I can do to counter somebody who actually, and there's another notch on the things that my sparring partner is, because my sparring partner is just a really bad matchup stylistically for me. With his height and his little bit of reach, he is also very light on his feet and really good at gauging distance. And that is a very tough thing to handle when you are a short pressure fighter. And so again, like with everything from the 15 pounds of weight that he's got on me, the 2 inches of height, the fact that he's been boxing while I was retired, the fact that he's got a ton more experience, etc., like, relax, you know, you're doing pretty well. And I wanted to make this video and share this with you all, mainly because if there are other people like me that are kind of getting consumed by their monster or too tunnel visioned in their goals, I was hoping to maybe let this story inspire you to take a step back and take a breath. Don't stop, keep working hard, but it's just kind of a reminder to cut yourself some slack. Coming from the guy who is very, very strict, very, very disciplined, it's important to cut yourself some slack too. We all talk about becoming a monster, but the big thing with that is you need to be able to control it too. Becoming a monster means nothing if you can't control it. Becoming a monster is nothing if you let it consume you. So, you know, relax a little bit. Cut yourself some slack. You're probably doing pretty good. I mean, I can't say for certain. I don't know who's on the other end of the screen, but hey, at least I can say I'm doing pretty good. Cut yourself some slack, Eli. Anyway, that's all I have to say for this video. Big shout out to all my Patreon supporters. Thank you very much for supporting me. Means the world. If anybody wants to support me, any means to do so are in my description. PayPal, Patreon, HTLT and GregDoucette.com affiliate links, as well as my TikTok and my Instagram. But until the next time, remember, only the strong subscribe. I'm not dead yet, and if you are not either, there is always a tomorrow waiting for you.